Our planet is one continuous mystery. It is not known exactly when and how it appeared. How many people and civilizations lived on it is also unclear. Where many of them have disappeared is a generally rhetorical question. In this video, you will find archaeological finds that are still worth exploring. Hi friend, you're on the KirTop channel. Ring with the oldest image of Christ. The Israel Antiquities Authority has conducted an archaeological study of the remains of two ancient shipwrecks. One of them belongs to the late Roman era and is about 1,700 years old, and the second is from the Memelech era and is about 600 years old. Many artifacts have been found at the Caesarea shipwreck site, but one of them is particularly interesting. This is a gold ring with a green stone inlaid on which the image of a shepherd boy is carved. The boy is holding a lamb on his shoulders. Experts know that this is exactly what the early Christian images of Jesus, the Good Shepherd, looked like. Judging by the size, the ring belonged to a woman. The Israel Antiquities Authority called it a very rare find. The ship sank in shallow water at the port entrance and lie at a depth of only 4 meters. At the bottom, archaeologists have found more than 500 silver coins of the Memelech period and hundreds of bronze and silver coins dating back to the ancient Roman period, as well as figurines in the shape of an eagle and a theater actor wearing a comic mask. In addition, bronze nails, a damaged iron anchor, lead pipes, ceramics, and bronze bells were found, which were intended to scare away evil spirits. But the octagonal gold ring with the image of the Good Shepherd is considered the most exquisite artifact in this collection. According to the New Testament, it was in Caesarea, where one of the first Christian communities was located, that the Apostle Peter baptized the Roman centurion Cornelius, and this was the first time a non-Jew became a Christian. This can be called the beginning of the spread of Christianity. Ancient repository of Tibetan scrolls. In Tibet, 180 kilometers from Everest, at an altitude of 4,300 meters, there is an ancient Sakya monastery. In 2003, it became known to the general public thanks to an amazing find. Archaeologists have discovered an ancient repository of handwritten texts in monastery, which was literally walled up in the wall. The monastery itself was found in 1073 by Contradict, a monk from an ancient influential family who was one of 7 Tibetans who were ordained as Buddhist monks. It was the abbots of this monastery who ruled Tibet until the 13th century, under the patronage of the Mongol Yuan dynasty. Accordingly, Sakya became the administrative center of Tibet, and the local Buddhist movement became dominant in Tibet. This continued until 1959, when China invaded Tibet, and the abbot of the monastery was forced to flee to India, where in the city of Tibetan, he built a monastery becoming its abbot. But let's go back to Sakya all the same. The monastery houses a unique library of ancient handwritten books with beautiful illustrations. Basically, all manuscripts are devoted to Buddhism. In 2003, a group of researchers, to their surprise, discovered a huge walled-up storage of ancient scrolls and books in one of the walls of the monastery. The dimensions of the walls are impressive. The length of the wall is about 18 meters and the height is about 3 meters. It was literally packed with ancient texts. Some were kept in the form of scrolls and some in the form of books. In addition, a large number of texts were in cases. Chinese researchers are still working on the manuscripts from the cache. It is known that the number of hidden manuscripts and scrolls is about 84,000. They are devoted not only to Buddhism, but also to history, astronomy, mathematics, and various arts. Some religious texts are written in ink with added gold and silver and are mainly from the Yuan and Ming periods, but some especially valuable manuscripts were written during the era of Kublai Khan, 13th century. As for the library of the monastery in general, it contains a huge number of monuments containing invaluable information on history, chronology, geography, medicine, etc. All of them are stored on the shelves of the huge Latin Chempo Hall, and they all look very epic. By the way, it is here that a unique ancient cannon weighing about 500 kilograms is kept, which is considered the largest and heaviest in the world. Mysterious aqueduct Chinglo de Miraflores. When I saw this beauty, my mouth even opened. Was it really regular craftsmen who built it with hammers and chisels? Who lived there at the time? Judging by the volume of the building, from which only this part of the wall remained, it is clear that it was not without excavators and multi-ton trucks. By the way, there was very little information about this place even on the Spanish-speaking internet. The stone slabs you see in the photographs were part of an aqueduct belonging to the old Soto del Puente canal in an area known as the Chinglo de Miraflores. It is a steep site with a Guadalupe River running alongside, tracing carved profiles and exposing the colorful rocks that make up the area. Red, garnet, gray, or beige are some of the tones that show the different geological strata that the waters eroded during the Tertiary and Quaternary periods. Bicycle armor. In May 2008, archaeologists at the University of Bristol excavated the territory of the Château Gellard, France. At a depth of 2.5 meters, a complex of iron objects was discovered that made up the warrior's protective armor. Nearby, archaeologists discovered a second burial, a well-preserved skeleton of a horse. In the excavation were also found Danae Tonua coins minted by Philip II Augustus, as well as coins minted by the Duchy Aquitaine, which made it possible to date the armor to the period of the reign of Richard I the Lionheart. The very arrangement of fragments of iron armor turned out to be unusual in this find. From above, they resembled the outline of a bicycle. Imagine the amazement of the archaeologists when the carefully extracted fragments were cleaned of centuries-old layers of soil and examined in more detail. Without a doubt, these were the details of a knight's bicycle that had lain in the ground for almost 9 centuries. Even in Holstead time, the basic skills of plastic processing of iron appeared in Europe. Rare attempts to make steel blades by carburizing iron and hardening it. In the subsequent Latin era, the technology of steel production was fully mastered, including rather complex methods of obtaining welded parts with high surface quality resistant to friction. The metallographic study of iron parts and the method of microscopic examination of thin sections allows us to say with confidence that the main structural elements of this unusual medieval bicycle are made of steel. As you can see, the recipes for the manufacture of steel products with little or no changes passed through all Roman times and had a certain impact on the level of blacksmithing in early medieval Europe. Gradually, scientists managed to recreate the appearance of a vehicle that was unusual in the era of the knights. Dinosaur egg with embryo. In 2010, while renovating the Yingling Natural History Museum of Stone, Guangzhou, Southeast China, staff were sorting through collections and found fossilized dinosaur eggs. Such finds are not uncommon, but many of them are not well preserved. Scientists decided to study some of the samples more closely and found the skeleton of an embryo inside one of the eggs. It turned out that the material was collected back in 2000 during excavations in the southeast of China, and all this time was in the museum's storage. Inside the egg, 16.5 centimeters long, lies an embryo of a Raptorosaurus. These theropod dinosaurs lived in the Cretaceous period in what is now Asia and the American continents. Their body was covered with feathers, there were no teeth in their mouth, and their jaws carried a horny cover, a rhamphotheca. The age of the find is estimated at 66-72 million years. Scientists named it Little England. The embryo's body length is 27 centimeters. Probably the dinosaur had several days before birth, but he died, possibly from a landslide. The position of the embryo is very characteristic. The hind limbs are on the sides, and the head is pressed against the front of the body, while the back is bent along the blunt end of the egg. This posture is very similar to that of the embryos of modern birds before hatching. The chick turns its head under the front limb, from which we can conclude that some patterns and features of the development of modern birds have arisen at least in such ancient but close to birds forms as Oviraptorosaurus. Currently, the study of the find continues using modern scanning and visualization tools. The ancient city described by Homer. Archaeologists have discovered the remains of a Hellenistic sanctuary with an inscription that is associated with a city in Homer's Iliad. According to the Greek Ministry of Culture, excavations were carried out near the port of Aegiacampus. A team of scientists discovered buildings from the Hellenistic period, which were erected from alabaster and local sources of stone. The find is dated around 3rd-2nd century BC. The site is located at the foot of Mount Mevravuni, extending to the rocky shores of the North Aegean Sea. The team found many architectural elements including an entablature, a horizontal ceiling over the colonnade, 5 Doric capitals, the base of the statue, parts of a column, a marble lack of a bench, and 2 marble hats depicting children. Other finds include iron nails, arrowheads, Thessalian and Macedonian bronze coins, bronze rings, clay lamps, drinking vessels, and amphora fragments. Scientists also found tiles with the names of the owners of ceramic shops. At the same time, the most notable find was a tile with an inscription, which may be associated with Meliboea, a city and a polis in antiquity. Archaeologists believe that they have discovered the ancient city of Meliboea mentioned by Homer in the second son of the Iliad, the so-called list of ships. In this excerpt of his work, the poet listed all the Greek cities that participated in the campaign against Troy under King Agamemnon. This city was also mentioned by other ancient Greek writers in later works, but there is currently no data on its exact location. House of the Golden Bracelet. Buried in a volcanic eruption in 79, this ancient Roman city provided scientists with a wealth of information about the life of the Romans in the 1st century AD. The House of the Golden Bracelet is a real city villa of several floors with many rooms, with panoramic terraces overlooking the sea, with a garden and a vineyard with wonderful expansive finishes. Much of this beautiful decoration has come down to us, despite the disaster. Frescoes, mosaics, marble inlay, terracotta reliefs, isolated finds. Some of the frescoes fell off the walls along with the plaster, and the restorers had to work hard to reconstruct their original appearance. Presumably, the house was damaged during an earthquake 17 years before the eruption of Vesuvius, and some of its premises were under repair for a long time. The saddest discovery in this property for archaeologists was the remains of a whole group of people, consisting of 2 small children and 2 adults. With the help of plaster, it was possible to restore the volume of their bodies at the time of death. On the hand of one of the adults, a heavy, as much as 610 grams, gold bracelet was preserved. Its design is based on a fairly common motif in ancient Roman jewelry art, 2 snake heads looking at each other. In our case, the heads hold in their mouth a large disc with the image of the moon goddess Selene. She holds a crescent moon above her head by its ends, and the space between them is decorated with stars. It was in honor of this bracelet, found in 1974, that archaeologists named the whole house. The adornment indicates the high social status of the woman to whom it belonged. But that's not all. The Pompeian woman had a box with an impressive amount of money, 40 gold aureases and 180 silver denarii, but according to archaeologists, for 20 denarii a family of 3 could eat in Pompeii for a whole week. People remained forever in the corridor that leads from the house to the garden, that is to salvation as it seemed to them. But they made a decision too late to leave the premises. The inhabitants of the House of the Golden Bracelet perished under the collapsed balcony of the upper floor. Since it is not always possible to determine the sex of the deceased Pompeian from Cass, 50 years ago it was decided to consider the one on whose hand the bracelet was a woman. The group itself was considered a family: dad, mom, and 2 small children. But now there is a reason to believe that all these people are not related to each other men, mature, younger, and 2 boys, 5-6 years old and 3 years old. Studies of these casts are ongoing, and perhaps new discoveries await us. Mount Kailash and its mysteries. Mount or Kailash is located in the southeastern part of the Tibetan plateau of the Trans-Himalayan system and territorially belongs to China. Kailash is translated from the Tibetan language as the jewel of the snow. Kailash is the highest part of this mountain system, its height 6,638 meters above sea level. Although the data may differ, the question is a few tens of meters. The 4 largest rivers of the Indian subcontinent originate from the slopes of Mount Kailash. The tributaries of the Ganges, Brahmaputra and Karnali, the Indus and its tributary Satluj. Due to the height and lack of civilization, difficulties arise in the study of the mountain. So far, very little is known about Kailash, but this mountain is fraught with many mysteries, unconfirmed theories that are waiting in the wings. Many attempts to conquer the very top of the mountain have failed. Until now, no one has managed to do this. Expeditions were denied permission by the authorities of China, the UN, and the Dalai Lama. Pilgrims staged demonstrations and blocked the path. Its appearance is already a mystery in itself. The faces of Mount Kailash are located located according to the 4 cardinal directions, and some scientists believe that this is an ancient pyramid to which smaller mountains adjoin and form a whole system. Geologists, however, believe that the shape of the pyramid over the millennia was given to it by wind and water, and the mountain itself appeared under the ocean as a result of movements and collisions of the Earth's crust, pushing out to the surface. And the cracks on the southern side of the mountain looks like a swastika, which in Buddhism means the highest divine power and perfection. Perhaps such cracks could have formed as a result of an earthquake, but Tibet is such a place where incredible miracles happen. It looks like someone did it on purpose for their own secret reasons. According to some assumptions, it is one of the ancient civilizations. Mount Kailash is overgrown with many myths and legends. This is one of the most famous places of pilgrimage because of the Hindus. Kailash is a sacred mountain where the god Shiva resides, and Buddhists consider it to be the Buddha's palace. Many are firmly convinced that the mountain is supposedly hollow inside. Enlightened ones found refuge there. To make a complete detour around it, you need to walk a distance of 53 kilometers along the valley at the base. The special name for such a pilgrimage is Kora, and it came from Tibetan monks. Whoever has committed Kora at least once in his life is freed from karma, all the sins that he has committed in his life, and can be calm about his next incarnation. He will definitely be lucky with his future incarnation. These who have visited Mount Kailash say that time seems to cease to exist there. The concentration of the most powerful energy is really capable of pushing a person to realize the meaning of life, helps to know himself, and as if reloads the internal batteries. Massive mercury poisoning in antiquity. Researchers at the University of Seville investigated cases of mass mercury poisoning in bygone eras. Today, liquid metal, whose vapors are harmful to health, is considered one of the most dangerous substances in the world. However, our ancestors did not know about this. A team led by Stephen Amsley analyzed 370 ancient burial sites at 23 locations in Spain and Portugal. The collected data covered 5,000 years, from the Neolithic to ancient times. The greatest number of poisonings occurred in the Bronze Age. Then people widely used cinnabar, mercury sulfide, which when ground, gives a bright red powder. Historically, cinnabar has been used as a pigment for making paints. It covered decorative items, cult tools, and even the bodies of the dead. In the hair from the burials, scientists recorded an abnormally large proportion of mercury. 400 parts per million instead of ordinary 2. According to archaeologists, shortly before their death, these people could inhale mercury vapor or eat cinnabar for esoteric purposes. Share this video with your friends, leave your thumb up, and write a kind comment, which is sure to bring you good luck this year. Thanks for your views, bye everyone!